Good evening, everybody. My name is Carmen Davenport from Black Dollar Indie, and this is Get the Bag Business Access and Gains, where we talk to local businesses in the community. We talk about the access that these businesses have been able to tap into and the gains that they've gotten on their journey. Today, I have with me Jerrell Farris, CEO, photographer, four-time Emmy-nominated filmmaker, cinematographer, serial entrepreneur of JRELZ Media Group LLC.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, hello.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I appreciate
We
it.
are
Yeah.
excited to talk to you today about I'm just gonna start out by asking this question, and I'm gonna take a couple of steps backwards.
Okay.
What is a cinematographer?
Okay. Great question, because a lot of people don't know. A cinematographer is somebody who they do cinema essentially. That is the person behind the camera on a film set. They create shot lists. They are versed in all things as far as cinema is concerned. The difference between that and a videographer is just essentially, for lack of better terms, they're just showing up and shooting. Cinematography, there's an artistry to it, and it's a lot more planned out as far as with the shots and with the lighting and how it's all put together. It's set to evoke emotion, right? So that's the layman's term, general, situation for the difference between a cinematographer and a videographer.
Okay. So when they ask for your services, they shouldn't ask for videography, or can you do videography as well?
So here's the thing. Yes, I can. I never correct people unless we're having like a direct conversation about it. Typically because when people are looking for somebody to film whatever, I know what it is that they're talking about, right? So if they say they're looking for a videographer or anything, now when a lot of times it's like for events or certain things or whatever the case, which is cool. But when you get into the realm of like when you're looking for somebody for a film set, you're looking for a cinematographer.
Okay. So MD, nurse practitioner.
That's it.
Right. Okay.
Bingo.
The difference is
there
the
we go.
MD and the nurse practitioner.
Yes, ma'am.
I got
That's
you.
it.
Okay. So before we dive into it, I always like to talk about the person behind the product. So
Okay.
give us a little bit of background. Who is Jerrell?
Man, that guy, he's so there's two different people. There's Jerrell and then there's JRELZ. So Jerrell is very quiet, very shy, introverted, don't like crowds, don't like loud noises. I'm a homebody, like to be in the house with my ankles crossed and that's it. That's all. That's Jerrell. JRELZ is that's the guy that everybody sees, the social media, that's the persona, that's the filmmaker. That guy is he likes the spotlight, but not for what it can do for him, but for what it can expose for other people in relation to his artistry, right? So that's who that is.
I like that. So were you always interested in cinematography, or was this something that just kind of evolved? Like, how did you come across selecting this as the thing that you wanted to
Sure.
do?
I was never into like cinematography or film or anything like
Mm.
that. What ended up happening was that I've always been a very vivid storyteller. So even being young, like family stories and different things like or stuff that would happen at church or whatever the case, like people would want to get my take on it, and they would want me to tell the story because I was very descriptive and things like that. Fights that would happen in school, like they want to know, like, okay, who started? All right, now never mind. Hey, Rails, what happened? Like, because they know how I'm coming. I'm giving all the details, right?
Wow.
So I've always had that, and I've always been a writer. And so when I
Mm.
was 21, I thought I was going to be a music producer. So that
Okay.
was my past before this. I was in the studio all the time. I had artists I worked with. I did a lot of projects and things like that. So I was producing music, and I produced a project for an artist, and I wrote a treatment for a music video, and then that spiraled into like a dramatization, and that spiraled into my very first short film. And so had no anticipation to get back into film. It was fun. Like we shot it, we did it all. It was really fun. It was cool, but we were going to get back to music. But once we put it out, the response that we got just from the general public, they were like, hey, we want to know what happens next in this story, and we want it to be longer. My first short film was 15 minutes. So then I wrote my very first movie. and which was like
Wow.
an hour and a half production. So
Okay.
yeah.
So do we have access to these
Yeah, yeah,
movies?
they're
And I
floating
mean,
they're
tell us,
floating around
yeah,
in the
tell
world
what, give us
somewhere.
some names, or how can we find this?
So my very first film was called Secrets. That was my first short film, and then the sequel to that was Secrets 2. So it was like the long version of it essentially, but it was the second half of what went on in the story. And then from there, I wrote my very first TV show after that. And so that was called Save My Soul.
Wow.
And yeah, and then I've done a myriad of different projects kind of since then. And so originally, so I've been filmmaking for 13 years. I just
Okay.
hit my 13-year mark back in December. But I've actually been behind the camera for the last 7 years. So those first several years, I was just writing, creative directing, I was producing, I was directing. I even acted in my own productions, not because I'm an actor, but just because I knew I was going to be there.
Right.
Right. So that was one less person I had to worry
That's
about
right.
showing
That's
up.
right.
So I did all of that, and then when back in 2018, I was working in the finance world at Charles Schwab, and yeah, I had a show on television on Saturday nights, and I was coming into work on Monday morning. And so for me, it was just like, man, what could I do if I just didn't have this job anymore? And I
Wow.
kept trying to figure out, how I could go on tour with my show and do all these different things. And I was like, okay, can I put in a leave of absence, and can I take sick time and all this? And I was like, you know what? The job is what's in the way. So I quit. Yeah,
Wow.
I don't advise anybody to do that. This was what was for me, but yeah, I quit, and I bought some camera equipment, and I said I'm gonna teach myself how to use this, and I ain't
Wow.
had a job ever since.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is amazing.
thank you.
There's so many people out here that want to leave their job,
Hmm.
and they either are afraid or they don't know the right time to do it. Like, what
Absolutely,
makes sense for me,
absolutely.
in terms of timing. So I commend you for
Thank you.
stepping out like that,
Yeah,
and it
thank
worked
you.
out. That was definitely in God's plan.
Yeah, it was. Cause listen, I had tried to quit my job before that back in 2015, and yeah, that wasn't in his plan. It
Oh,
wasn't 2 months
one
later, I had
time.
another job. And
Ah,
so
it wasn't time. When
yeah,
it's
it
all
wasn't
about
time. So
timing.
I needed to sit in the crock pot for about 3 more years. And yeah, then once it hit, man, it ended up working, and so I taught myself how to use, my camera equipment, and I just learned a lot. I've always, been able to like look at things and kind of figure it out. And so
Hmm.
over time, people, they saw what I was doing. And I think what really helped me was that I already had a name for like making films. So it was kind of synonymous. So people was like, oh, well, yeah, he shoots. Of course he does. Cause
Yeah.
so not knowing that I wasn't shooting at that time, but it really helped, and it worked out in my favor. And so, yeah, here we are.
Okay. So I'm gonna take another step back
Sure.
and talk about this 4-time Emmy
Yes,
nominated,
ma'am.
right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, because that's a story
Sure.
that
Sure.
somebody needs to hear, right?
Sure.
Because you're not just right. You're not just a cinematographer. You're
Yes,
not
ma'am.
just a photographer.
Yes, ma'am.
You have some status behind you, right?
So they say.
Tell us
I'm
about this.
I'm just a guy with a camera. Don't worry about it. It's just
Not
uh,
4 times Emmy nominated.
listen,
You're not
listen.
just.
So shout out to Juanita Ingram. Juanita
Mm.
Ingram is she is a very esteemed colleague of mine. She was actually, I met her, she was in my first TV show. She is an actress, author, and attorney.
Oh wow.
And she's also actually Miss Universe. Yes, I don't want to get it wrong. Yeah,
Nice.
she just won the Mrs. Universe crown. It's like within the last couple of years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so she, her and her family, they are expats, and so they live abroad and
Hmm.
whatnot, and so they have a amazing story. Her and her husband and her 2 children, and so her and I, we spoke, and she wanted to create a reality series around just their journey, because it's like you don't often see a family of Black expats, and so there was nothing like that
Hmm.
in the reality TV series space. There's the drama and all the different stuff, but like nothing that showed us in a really positive light, to show something that's cool and just
Right.
different that we don't see every day. So yeah, I had a chance to speak to her and just kind of figure out, what it is that she wanted to tell story wise. And she brought me on originally to do some filming, and then I ended up doing some editing. And so on that project, we it was originally on Amazon Prime and then went to Tubi, and so I believe it's in a few different places now as far as streaming
Okay.
services are concerned. But yeah, we won. So the Telly Awards is like a big thing in the film community,
Okay.
film and TV. So we won a Silver Telly Award for their production, and then we were blessed to be able to get onto the Emmy nomination ballot. So originally for so the way it works is that you get onto the ballot, and then it's just what you get nominated for after that.
Got you.
So
Okay.
the process was we originally were on the ballot for 5 Emmys, and then we ended up being nominated for 4. So
Wow.
it was a great situation. Got a chance to work with different film crews from literally around the world
Oh,
because
wow.
they were in Singapore and Thailand at that time. And so and then I was handling stuff over here in the United States as far as filming and editing was concerned.
Nice. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, tell us again the name of that, because we could potentially find this on Tubi, right?
Yes, yes. So that is called the International Ingrams. Excuse me, Expats, the International Ingrams.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, that is out on streaming services as we speak.
Great. 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 Now we're going to move on to the serial entrepreneur part,
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
because
Let's
we
do
talked
it.
about you being a photographer,
Hmm.
cinematographer, filmmaker. So, serial entrepreneurship,
Yes,
what
ma'am.
other things do you have
So,
going on?
involved in the real estate space, and so that is just something that I've always been interested in real estate, even when I was a kid. I don't know where it came
Wow.
from, but just was always in. I liked it, and my dad was really into real estate a lot, and so I think just kind of just watching him, I always wanted to be like my dad, and so that real estate space, the logistics space as
Okay.
well, like the trucking industry. And in relation to that, moving into some new industries, the concrete industry, the laundromat industry, and the storage facility industry. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And that's you're already doing that, or is that something that's you're
Transitioning into it for
transitioning?
2025.
But you're
Yes.
still going to do photography.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's your still your number one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
got you. I got you. Edna Martin Christian Center presents the 2025 Entrepreneurship Showcase, May 10th from 11 to 4 at the Frederick Douglass Park Family Center, 1616 East 25th Street. Multiple vendors selling products and services, food, fun, music, and networking. Did I mention free? Yes, it's free for the entire family. So come out and support May 10th from 11 to 4 at the Frederick Douglass Park Family Center. Sponsored by IAAQLA. Talk about some of the challenges that you faced, just kind of being a serial entrepreneur in general. Like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you find have just kind of either set you back or...
Sure. One of the biggest things that I've just kind of noticed challenge wise, at least for me, is it can be a setback having a big heart, right? Because
Mm,
I've gone through these doldrums of wanting to help everybody that comes across my way, and I had to just come to the point to realize that everything is not your emergency and it's not your fire to put out.
that's right.
So that is something that it takes time. It takes time to learn it, and it also takes time to because originally what happens is that you will put yourself in a situation to where I'm spreading myself thin, for very little pay or for no pay or what have you,
Yeah,
and then I still have to deliver at the top quality level that people are used to seeing.
that's right.
And so it becomes difficult to do that, knowing that that there isn't necessarily a back end or anything. And like I said, bills are the one things that don't take nobody's break. So
That's true. That
that's
is
the thing.
true.
It's like you want to help people and you want to do certain things and whatnot, and you do it. I do it where I can, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, so I think that's the biggest thing, and then just understanding, that everybody doesn't want to see you win. So that's been
true.
because for me, I like to see people do well with their businesses and whatever it is that they're doing, your endeavors and your dreams and all of that. But everybody doesn't want to see that for you,
That's true.
and so sometimes people can sabotage, and sometimes people will try to ice you out and blackball you and all those types of things. So yeah,
Okay, yeah, and that is so true.
it
Yeah,
is,
that is so
unfortunately.
true. And
Yeah,
some people unfortunately have to learn it the hard way.
yeah,
But it's nice to kind of hear somebody say,
oh
"Hey,
yeah,
you still have to be careful out there, right?"
absolutely.
So I like that. What kind of advice So you have a lot of young entrepreneurs that are coming up that maybe want to get into the video game, or they want to get into cinematography and different things like that. What advice would you give to those young entrepreneurs just wanting to get in the game?
The best advice that I would give is to learn what works for you.
Mm.
Right. So like for instance, for me, I get a lot of people that ask me, like I speak at schools and stuff like that, and kids are like, "Oh, well, do you have to go to school for what you did?" My answer is you can, but you
Mm.
don't have, like, you have to go to school to be a lawyer. You have to go to school to be a doctor. These types of things, like, yes, that is necessary. If not, you're going to jail. But like for this, from the creative perspective, I've never opened a film book a day in my life,
Really?
not one time. And it's just I just haven't had to. And I don't say that in an arrogant way, but just it's just more so of the testament to God, just like the gift, just to be able to create films. Like, I teach film to high school students. I created a nonprofit film academy to be able to continue doing that at a higher level, because that's important to me, is to teach kids how to create with what they have.
Got you.
So yeah, that's what I would say. Learn what works for you. It might be film school. It might not be. It might be. I tell people all the time that film school is a great tool. However, working in the field is completely different, because there's nothing that chapter 6 of the textbook can teach you when you show up to a film shoot and the location that said that you could rent this for 2 hours is locked, and now you got to figure it out, and your
Yes.
whole crew is there, and you got to rewrite the script in your head, and then you got to, well, hey, there's an alley over here that we can use, and now we got to flip this scene.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
there's nothing in the textbook that can teach you how to maneuver through that situation when it happens. So yeah, figure out, I'll teach, my film students, like, critical thinking, critical thinking, like, on set. Hey, sometimes, like, we've been on set and the police have been called, or the power goes out, or, it starts raining when it was never on the forecast, and we're shooting outside, and how do we cover the equipment, and what, so many different things that you have to figure out just on the fly. So, but it makes for a great product.
Okay. And can somebody, I know you said you go into the schools and different things
Mhm.
like that, but if I wanted to do it, could I get in touch with you, and
Absolutely.
you've got classes and things that I could sign up for? And
Yes. So I actually have an entire film curriculum that I created.
wow.
Yeah. So it's a very comprehensive, type of situation, that because I like to really kind of meet people wherever they are, see what they know, tear down some things that maybe some, just kind of debunking some myths that they may have in their mind, and then just help them build that up with the right habits. Because a lot of people say that, like, oh, well, art can't be wrong, and it's just like, yes, the artistic side of art, but there's also a technical side of
Yeah,
art that can
absolutely.
be incorrect.
Hmm.
Because if you watch, insert, Denzel Washington's new movie here, and you see certain things, but then you watch your movie and you don't see the same qualities. Technology has evened
That's
the
right.
playing field out now, so it's just like, if I see it there, that means it's possible. Right.
Yeah.
So, being that it's possible, I have to keep working a little bit harder to make it possible for me.
Okay. What are some of the next things, the big things coming up for JRELZ?
I'm currently working on a new TV series. Right,
Really?
yeah, right now. Been shooting it for a little while now. We're on the second season actually right now. First season is completely done.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank
I'm so
you, thank you. I
excited.
appreciate it. It got to a point to where I used to have a lot of time, like free time, to work on my own projects, and then it got to a point in time where I didn't have free time to work on my own projects. But I'm glad to kind of be getting back to just put my own ideas out into the world and into the space. I used to put out something typically like every year, but thankfully, business just got to a point to where it kept me busy and I was moving. So, but yeah, I'm working on a new TV series right now, and looking to release this year actually.
Okay. Can you give us the what's the not yet, not yet,
I can't. So it's
not yet.
I can. So it's it's called TDT, the TDT
Okay.
series, taxes, death, and trouble. Because
Oh,
those are the three constants in this life. And so it's from Marvin Gaye's song Trouble Man. Little known fact: everything that I've ever produced has been inspired by Marvin Gaye in some kind of way.
really?
Yeah, my all-time favorite artist. I'm an old soul, like old school, like peanut butter on a mousetrap.
Uh,
So it's for me, it's like there's always something in his music that it just takes me to a different place, and it helps me draw so many parallels, and I can create. And it's that's my space. That's where I live
Who
creatively.
doesn't love Marvin Gaye?
Listen, come
Who
on,
does
man.
not
Gotta love you
love
some Marvin.
Marvin
Gotta love you
Gaye?
some Marvin. Yes, ma'am.
So for those out there watching,
hmm
tell them, how can they get in touch with you for one, if they need photography or cinematography
hmm
services or even videography services?
Sure.
How can people get in touch with you?
I'm around social media, Instagram, Facebook, JRELZ exclusive everywhere. My website, JRELZYFFM.com. That's JRELZYFFM.com. Yeah, that essentially connects you to me, and you'll find out all the other crazy things from there. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow. This has been such an amazing conversation.
thank you. I appreciate it.
I have literally met a man who has about 10 jobs, y'all, in real life. This has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you stopped by to
Thank
talk
you.
to us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
and I'm really excited about everything that you have coming up. I'm hoping everybody who's out here watching this series is going to look you up for videography, photography, whatever those needs are. Make sure that you get in touch with JRELZ at, give us that handle again.
www.JRELZYFFM.com.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Again, this is Carmen Davenport with Get the Bag, Business Access and Gains, where your success is in the bag.